Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. Today's episode is Criminal Minds Season 1, Episode 18, Somebody's Watching. Episode in a nutshell is a brief reminder of what happens in the episode. So in this episode, it begins with Reed and Gideon at a art show at an art gallery that's run by Parker, who Reed went to school with, and it is revealed that they were in the same graduating class in high school, though at the time Reed was 12, and is told he still looks the same. And as they're talking, a celebrity comes in named Lila Archer, and her friend Pinky is one of the artists that are in the show being featured. And so Reed ends up being introduced by Parker to Lila, and they end up talking for a bit. Jason kind of goes off with Pinky, and then Pinky kind of comes on to him a bit too hard, and he makes a quick escape, dragging Reed along with him. And they then give their lecture to the police, and as they're giving their lecture, a double homicide occurs in the Hollywood area, and they basically are about to be driven to the airport when Detective Owen says that these murders have come in. Do you mind coming with me to take a look at the scene? They then choose to go look at the scene. As they're walking through the scene, Owen kind of brings up that there's been a few murders with the same type of gun, and all the people were kind of connected to the entertainment industry. And so ultimately, Reed and Gideon are asked to stay, and the rest of the team are flown out as well. They give an initial profile because at first they can't really connect the people, other than that they have connection to entertainment industry, but like no connection to each other or why they would be targeted over anybody else. However, then Lila and her manager come into the police station and show that she was given a "you owe me" message on an article about the most recent murder. And they then kind of name the other people who have died and realize that, one was a producer that didn't give her the part. In fact, he gave it to the actress who was most recently killed. Another murder was an actress who happened to look like her, which would have been competition for her in the acting industry, and realize that basically at the center of it all is Lila. And so they then start to give her protection. So the next day they go to the set, and on the set, she basically is like, I refuse to not live my life. And then when one of the assistants, Maggie, comes over and gives her a letter that she claims was taped to her trailer door, which basically says, after everything I've done for you, how could you go to the police? And basically is like an ominous note. And so the team is called to the set. She does finish her filming with the FBI present there, but then Reed takes her home. Meanwhile, they look into the manager, and when they go to the manager's office, they find him dead because he's the one who brought Lila to the police. Therefore, the stalker considers him a threat to them and kills them. While in protective custody, Lila decides to go swimming, and she pulls Reed into the pool, and they have a makeout session before he then decides to tell her about her manager dying at the best timing. And while they're doing that, a paparazzi is considered a suspect because pictures were found of Lila in a compromising position in the manager's office, and they believe the manager was paying off this paparazzi not to publish the pictures. When they go to that paparazzi's house, not only do they find candid shots of Lila, the most recent victim before the manager, and also Reed, and that just kind of solidifies it. So they go to the house. They do find the paparazzi in the bushes taking pictures, but it turns out he's not the stalker. Instead, they're inside the house. They realize there's a piece of art on the wall, and Reed realizes that it's a bunch of cut up pictures of Lila, which, when rearranged, basically tell the story of her entire life from like college onwards in the entertainment industry, which then Parker is the one who gave her the painting. Therefore, they go and question him, and he reveals that he said it was from him, but it actually was from Maggie, who asked him to give it to Lila on her behalf, and then he lied and said it was from him because he wanted Lila to like him. And then Lila gets a phone call from Maggie, one where she basically, reminisces about some of their times in college and how, Lila's just not the same. And then she comes out with a gun because she's in the house, and she basically gets angry at Lila, like, I can't believe I loved you. You don't even remember me. Nothing was as important to you as it was to me. And Reed kind of draws her anger away from Lila before she can harm her by saying that, Lila loves him now and that they kissed. And so Maggie goes to basically attack him, even though she has a gun, and he manages to tackle her, get the gun away. Him and Lila then say their goodbyes, head back to the bureau, and then Reed and Derek have a conversation about um, Reed's conflicted emotions with regards to whether he wants to call Lila and whether he wants to continue to know her or just let the case be in the past and that brief fling in the past. But that's essentially what happens in this episode. So now that we've been reminded about what happened, it's now time to rank the episode. As always, we'll rank on the mostly objective ranking list, followed by the personal ranking list. And we start with our single episode supporting character introductions, and we have Lila Archer and Maggie Lowe. Lila Archer being the subject of the stalker, Maggie Lowe being the stalker. We then have a multi-episode supporting character introduction, which is Detective Owen Kim, who does recur again in a later season, but only one other time, so I'm counting it as multi-episode, not multi-season. Then we have the supporting relationship development, which Lila and Reed flirt and kiss in this episode. They're only in one episode, but I mean, it goes all the way to kissing, so I really do consider that to be some form of relationship, even if it is a one-night fling type of relationship, which is why I decided to give the points. Then we have the impactful, memorable, moment line, etc., which is that pool scene, which, spoiler, to plus 4 points, it is a memorable episode. Because that scene is in there, it is one of those episodes that you remember before you watch it. Like, as soon as I read the title, I was like, I know exactly which episode this is. And I was right, of course, that it was the stalking episode where Reed gets pulled into the pool, which is a very memorable scene. And Reed so very rarely has like the romantic aspect to his character. That's usually, I would say, more Derek's side of things. So um, it does also stand out for that reason. And then the multi-season main character development, we learned that Reed graduated high school at 12. But there weren't any negatives in this episode. I mean, typically, because every episode has a killer doing really bad things, I don't really consider what the serial killer is doing as negative messaging or behavior. And I guess technically you could say the invasion of privacy from the paparazzi was negative messaging or behavior, but that is a genuine career path that people actually follow. And so I didn't take the points for it, but I could have. But even if I did, it still would be a 10 out of 10 episode. And that is why it is 10 out of 10. And on our mostly objective ranking, when more than one episode has the same score, it is ranked in episode order, which brings our list to in first, Extreme Aggressor, Natural Born Killer, The Tribe, Somebody's Watching. This episode is in fourth, followed by Compulsion, The Popular Kids, The Fox, Derailed, Blood Hungry, What Fresh Hell, LDSK, Plain Sight, Riding the Lightning, Broken Mirror, Poison, A Real Rain, Won't Get Fooled Again, and then in 18th, Unfinished Business. Now, my personal ranking for this episode, I decided to give it a 9 out of 10. Like I said, I didn't really feel like anything was overly negative. It was an engaging watch. It was to my recollection, the first female unsub who actually was an unsub. I mean, obviously in Riding the Lightning, we had a female person who was accused of killing her son, but ended up being innocent after all. So, you know, was considered an unsub, but not actually one. In this case, Maggie actually is the killer, actually is the stalker, actually did the bad things. So that's a bit of a milestone. Additionally, again, it has the pool scene, the kissing scene. Now, I am a big enough prude that I do look away when people kiss on screen because privacy is important, and I just don't like to see it because I am a prude and I'm fine with that. But, you know, there was some romance, which was fun. I also found it funny when Jason was hit on by Pinky and then, like, ran for the hills as fast as he could. That was amusing. And then, just the whole concept of it being, amongst TV stars, and then it's a TV show, and I don't know, I liked the concept overall as well. It was memorable. I didn't necessarily find the crimes as compelling as some other episodes. Example, The Tribe, which is why The Tribe is still in first place, and I put this one, Somebody's Watching, in second. Followed by Derailed, Riding the Lightning, Compulsion, Plain Sight, Extreme Aggressor, The Popular Kids, Unfinished Business, Natural Born Killer, A Real Rain, What Fresh Hell, The Fox, Blood Hungry, LDSK, Won't Get Fooled Again, Broken Mirror, and then in 18th we have Poison. And so, with both rankings done, we now have our series ranking where we'll be ranking each of the seasons against each other, and starting with season 1, on our mostly objective, it is a score of 101 out of 220 so far, whereas the personal ranking is at 87 out of a possible 220 so far. But with that, we have now rewatched and ranked Criminal Minds Season 1, Episode 18. Somebody's watching, like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.